Okay, good morning everyone. We're continuing in Mishna Berura Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Kig, Kuf Yud Gimel. Let's see again, Sif Zayin, just to reiterate what we learned. Yesterday we learned in Sif Vav, and we learned in earlier Sifim, that when you bow down, you have to bow until all the vertebrae in the spine are protruding. And it's not enough just to bow your body, but your head should be bent as well. Now, you don't make your body horizontal and parallel to the ground, but it needs to be a deep bow. In Sif Zayin, the Mechaber says, Kisha kareya bebaruch, when you bow by the word baruch, ukisha zoikev b'Hashem. And when you get up by Hashem's name. The Mishna Berura says, Kisha kareya, sivkatin beis, Kisha omer baruch yichra beberkav. When you say baruch, you bend your knees. Uksha omer ata, when you say ata yishcha, you bow at sheyispaku holiest until all the vertebrae protrude. Uksha omer moidim, when you say moidim yichra roishay v'gufay ka'agmaim b'basa achas. When you say moidim, you're not bending your knees, you bend your head and your body like a reed at one time. V'yamoid kach b'shchia, you remain in that state of bowing ad Hashem, until you get up to Hashem's name, meaning moidim anachnu lach sho'atahu. Many people, they just bow by moidim anachnu lach. By the way, the Mishna Berura said you need to remain in have a deep bow also when you do the Oisa Shalom. When you take the 3 steps back, you also remain in this deep bow. So that we saw as well. Okay. Now the question is, when do you get up? When do you bend your knees by Baruch, you bow and you say Ata? Do you get up before you say Hashem's name or while you're saying Hashem's name? So interestingly, the Dirshu brings this question. When is the correct time to get up? And he brings different opinions. He says, the Ravia writes, before you become straight, you stand straight. Before you get to Hashem's name, you straighten out. So that the recitation of Hashem's name is when you're straightened. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch brings that. The Yesod B'Shar Shavoida brings that. Reb Chaim Kanievsky brings the right from the Yushalmi. Ba lahazker es Hashem zoikev, which means ad shaloi hizkar es Hashem kvar nichas. One is already in a state of awe before they get to Hashem's name. Me'idach, the Archas Chaim of Lonel writes that you should straighten yourself out when you say Hashem's name. That's also mashma in Rashi, and Rabbi Yonasan of Lunel brings different opinions. And the Yavitz, interestingly, says regarding the bracha of Avos, you straighten out when you say Hashem's name, and Legabe Moidim, you straighten out before you get to Hashem's name. You hear this? The Rabbi Yaakov Emden writes that by Avos you straighten out while, and by Moedim before. I do think the consensus is you straighten out before you get to Hashem's name. You bend your knees, you bow, you straighten out, because you shouldn't be moving while you're saying Hashem's name. That's umipnei shemi nichasu, meaning before even you get to Hashem's name, you're already in reverence. Okay. Zoikev b'Hashem. Why? D'chsev Hashem zoikev kefufim. That's, so to speak, it could be read then by the recitation of the name of Hashem, you're already straightened out. By the way, that was the Bir Halacha. The Bir Halacha says the Kriya that you say by Isa Shalom also should be in a deep bow. Now, just down when we get to Isa Shalom, when you say Isa Shalom, there are 3 very specific steps. Akev b'tzad goydal. You take 3 steps back, and while you're taking the steps back, you're bowing. You're not taking 50 steps back. You're not taking 1.5 steps back. It's 3 steps back in a full bow. If you're not able to do a full bow, there are many chiropractors and physical therapists that you could go to mekayim this very simple halacha. Okay, it will take some time to get used to moving. I know people are, but if you need any therapy, we'll start by dropping a $20 bill. You'll see how you're able to bend down. Okay, then think of it that way. Says the Bir Halacha, Ukisha Zoikev Bashem. I'm Magen Avram, Siman Kuf Chav Zayin, Shemavoyer, as Das Mahari, the Svirale, the Bekriya Shabbatchilas Bracha, the bowing and the beginning of the Bracha, Imratza Shaloi Liskaif, if you want not to straighten out, At Samach Lechasima Harashus B'yadai. Meaning, the Magen Avram brings that if you want to remain bowing until the end of the bracha, you could. It's just if you want to straighten out, then you straighten out by Hashem's name. There's a very interesting opinion that you're not required to straighten out. You could remain bowing the whole time. It's just if you're gonna straighten out, you should do it B'Hashem. V'chein b'kriyah shabbos bracha shu chayav liskoif miyad. You have to get up immediately. Kedei shaloi liya shachuach b'tchilas bracha shachreha. But when it comes to the end of the bracha, where you're chayiv to get up immediately so that you're not bowing by the beginning of the next one, azai hu tzarich liskoif b'Hashem, als Hashem zoikiv kafufim. Otherwise, you don't have to get up at all. It's just, this opinion holds, you don't have to get up, but if you're going to, then you do by Hashem zoikiv kafufim. But not that Hashem zoikiv kafufim obligates you to get up, it's if you're going to get up, do it then. And therefore, those who are noig on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur to be bowing, you only have to get up at the end of the bracha and the beginning. But l'maisa, we don't do that. We do not remain bowing. Sif ches hamispalel. If you're davening, abba kenegdei akam, and while the davening, a avodah zarah comes your way, or a idol worshipper. V'yesh lo tmunas avodas kaham biyadai, and he has a getchke. He has an avodah zarah. V'yigia l'makom shesheichen by, and you're getting up to a place that you would bow down. Lo yishcha, don't bow down. Afal pi shalibai l'shamayim, even though your heart is to the heavens. Meaning, even though you don't intend to bow down to avodah zarah, you're bowing down a moedim. But if the guy's coming by with the statue of the Buddha, then you don't bow down. So you want to know. Says the Mishna Rabbi Yadai, I'm Magen Avram b'mashikasav de imhu, avim Magen Gvarim kasav shchalila hakel bazev v'frat be'isat tefillah. Look in the Magen Avram regarding what exactly this type of avodah zarah is, and the Magen Gvarim says no, you can't be lenient. By the way, I guess a more clear question would be, a more contemporary question is, what about a cross? You're davening Shemone Esrei, and there's you're in a place, there's a cross there. Is that like bowing down to avodah zarah? I was about to say it's okay, because Rabbi Vadia has a tshuva that a cross is not an avodah zarah. In fact, he wrote a tshuva when King Juan Carlos of Spain gave Rabbi Vadia a cross, and Rabbi Vadia kept it. And he wrote a tshuva that a cross is not avodah zarah. It's just a symbol. In fact, a makubal once came to his house, and he said, because his wife brought one in because they were having trouble, and the makubal said, is there avodah zarah here? And the Rebbe was getting nervous, and Rabbi Vadia kicked him out and uncovered him as a fraud. He said, you don't know the halacha. It's not an avodah zarah. And Rabbi Vadia was very angry at him. He said, it's wrong. Lamaisa, he brings that Reb Chaim Kanievsky says, you should be royally zaher, not to bow in front of a cross. But the Kaf HaChaim says that if the guy in front of you has a cross embroidered on their shirt, you're allowed to daven opposite it. Okay, so I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean, did they argue? Is it just better not to? It doesn't sound, if it was really an avodah zarah, then Reb Chaim wouldn't say royally zar, he would say you're not allowed to do it. So the answer is it's not an avodah zarah, but but it's not the nicest thing to do. Okay. Afal pi. So you shouldn't. The Mishnah Berurah says, "Shenir k'mishtach v'alav l'tzkechavim." Sif tes ein lahoisif al ta'arav shal kadosh baruch hu yosem mehakel hagada hagibur anar. Don't add on to the praises of God more than what's legislated. Hakel hagada hagibur anar. V'davka b'tuah. That's only in Shemone Esrei. Mnei she'in l'shanois mimatbeya shetavu chachamim. Should not change from the format that the rabbis enacted. Aval b'tachanunim. But by supplications, by bakashos, ushvachim, sha'adam oimer meyatzne, other praises that a person says on their own, less lanba, there's no problem. Umikamakayim nachain, nevertheless it is correct. Lamisha yirtze laharach b'shivchei hamakim. Somebody who wants to elongate the praises of Hashem, sheyomer oisai b'psukim, that they should say, someone who wants to elongate the praises of Hashem, he should say it in psukim. What does that mean? He should say it in psukim. He should say it by reciting psukim that already exist instead of making up his own words. So he wants to combine various psukim that praise Hashem, so let him do it that way instead of just speaking out his own praises. Okay, Siman Kuf Dalet. Din Haskaras Haruach V'Geshem V'Tal. Mentioning wind, rain, and dew. Maschilim Leimer Bebracha Shnia Masrach Mard HaGashem. I'm changing the dirshu to Gashem. We start to say Masrach Mard HaGashem. But Tfilas Musaf Shal Yom Tov Achron Shal Chag. On the Musaf Tfilah of the last day of Sukkot, the Ein Poiskim, we don't stop at Tfilas Musaf Shal Yom Tov Harishon Shal Pesach until the Musaf of the first day of Pesach. Why do we say it in Gevuros B'Bracha Shnia? Says Mishnah Berurah, B'nei Sheish B'Tchias HaMeisim, because it mentions Tchias HaMeisim, Hageshamim Him Chayim La'olam, rain brings life to the world, K'Tchias HaMeisim. By the way, it's interesting, the Mishnah Berurah doesn't quote a source here, that's why we say it in the second bracha. Is that what the Gemara in Tainus says? The Gemara in Tainus on that base says, why do we mention it in Gevuros? Because it's Yoyred B'Gvura. So actually, that's not what the reasoning of the Mishnah Berurah is not the reasoning of the Gemara. The Mishnah Berurah says that the second bracha is Tchias HaMeisim, and Geshamim bring life to the world like Tchias HaMeisim. That's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, because they're Yoyred B'Gvura, no? Also, I would say, because since it's the bracha of Gevura, and this is one of the keys, this is another key that Hashem has sole possession of, so it shows the Gevura of Hashem. But okay, the reason the Mishnah Berurah offers is also nice, and we'll hold it over here, okay? We'll pick it up tomorrow in Sivkat Beis. Have a good day, everyone. Bracha v'atzlacha.